Yeah, at least I've read that in the history books.
Yes. You would not be allowed. You'd have to be born a Brahmin to. So they had this very rigid control over Sanskrit learning, and they understood that the divisions of society, or in the more pejorative sense, the caste system, as we know it today, was based on guna and karma.
Right.
And they said, wait a minute, this is not good. Because that means if I have two sons and one has Brahminical qualities, guna, and works like that, and the other one is a rickshawwala, then the rickshawwala, he will not get all the benefits, family benefits of being a Brahmin. Therefore, they purposely changed one word. They said, Chaturvanya Maya Sistam Janma Karma Vibhagasa. They changed the word guna to janma.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I know you didn't know that. That's why I'm explaining it to you. I can explain to you the weaknesses or inherent flaws in modern Hinduism. The reason why it is diminishing all over the world, especially in India. Because of this cheating, misrepresentation, purposeful changing of Shastra by unqualified Brahmins. You see, Brahmins should be qualified, they have to be honest, they have to be humble. An example of Brahmin is Chanakya Pandit. Another example of Brahmin is Vidura.
Right.
Vidura, although he was the brother of the king, he never took one paisa from his brother. But yet he came and freely gave his advice. And then when he was insulted by the sons of Dhritarashtra, then he realized the situation is hopeless and he left. Chanakya Pandit, he didn't take one penny from Chandragupta. He would come, give advice, then he would go home and he would beg or teach and get a little bit of dakshin, and he would live like that very humbly. A Brahmin has to have a vow of poverty. Even though he receives dakshin, he lives by a vow of poverty, and then he distributes the rest to the people, and he distributes knowledge freely, and so forth. They live by a very strict code. See? But in Kali Yuga, that deteriorated. They became greedy. They wanted to protect their self-interest, family interest. Therefore, they purposely changed Shastra, which is a criminal offense. And look what it's done. It's created so much suffering amongst the Hindus. Now today, you've heard of the Dalits, right? Now, what is a Dalit? Dalit's a Hindu, isn't it? Isn't it?
Right.
But yet he's mistreated by his own people. It creates hatred and resentment. He's treated like a low-class person. In fact, there's a film a friend of mine brought to my attention that shows and documents the mistreatment of Sudras in India by Brahmins. Now, how long do you think this, if you were being mistreated, how long would you tolerate it?
I would not.
Are you born in a Sudra family?
No.
So you don't know what it's like.
Right.
These are your own people. What are you doing for them? We're following tradition based on a lie. The real tradition, the Vedic tradition, as explained, for example, in the Jabal Upanishad. Jabal was a very poor boy. He went to a great teacher named Gautam Muni, and he said, "Sir, can you accept me as your shishya, as your disciple?" Gautam Muni said, "First I have to know your gotra." He said, "Okay, I don't know it right now. I'll go home and ask my mata." So he went home, asked his mother, and mother said, "Oh, I'm very sorry, I can't tell you, because earlier I was not living a good life, and I'm not sure who your father is." She couldn't tell him. So the boy said, "Okay." So he went back the next day, he told Gautam Muni, he said, "Sir, pranam," he said, "my mother said she doesn't know who my father is, so therefore I can't tell you what my gotra is." He said, "Dear boy," he said, "I accept you as my disciple." He said, how come? He said, "You are Brahmin because you told the truth." You see? That's Vedic tradition, that's Vedic knowledge, that's the Vedas. Because the boy told the truth. He was Brahmin by guna, not by janma. That's Vedic tradition. You see. On the other hand, you have Karna. Karna, by birth, his father is Suryadev, right? And his mother is Kunti. So he's more than Brahmin in a sense, right? He's a Deva, right? And he is definitely a Brahmin. But his mother, let him go on the Yamuna, and then he ended up picked up by a chariot driver, right? And he was brought up, and so he didn't know who his mother and father were. He just thought, this is my mother and father, even though he had a big, huge body and gold armor and gold earrings and everything. Born like that, right? So, later on, he went to see Parasuram. And he asked him, can you be my guru? And he said, are you a Brahmin? He said, yes. Okay. Actually, if you look at it in the detail, he was actually a Kshatriya because his father is a king, right? The king of the sun and the universe.
Right.
So, anyway, he treated his guru with utmost respect. One day his guru was sleeping. He had his head on his lap, and Karna was fanning him, and a big beetle landed on Karna's leg, the other leg, and bit into the leg in such a terrible way that blood started to gush out. But Karna was unperturbed. He didn't move. He didn't want to disturb his guru. He kept fanning him. But the blood was coming out, and finally the guru woke up because he felt this warm liquid, and he looked, and he saw the beetle biting him, and the blood on him, and he looked at Karna and said, you are not a Brahmin. No Brahmin would have been able to suffer such pain. You have to be a Kshatriya. Karna lied. He lied. And Parasuram understood it. Therefore he cursed him that when he needed his astras, he would forget the mantras. Right? So here's two examples. One boy is not a Brahmin, but because he's honest, he's accepted as a Brahmin and instructed. The other boy is not a Brahmin also, he's a Kshatriya, but he lied. Therefore he's rejected. That's Vedic culture. It has nothing to do with birth.
Right.
Okay. So, in this age, there's a lot of misconceptions. And misconceptions are the enemy. The Muslims are not the enemy. The Christians are not the enemy. The Buddhists are not the enemy. And the Hindus are not the enemy. The enemy is misinformation. And whoever proliferates it. And that's Kali. The personality of Kali gives misinformation to ruin people's lives. And a Brahmin is supposed to represent the truth. How? By speaking based on Shastra. Like if I give you, as I said before, my own opinion, it's not worth anything. But if I speak based on Shastric evidence, then you have to consider it seriously. You have to look at the Vedas that I'm quoting, the verses that I'm quoting, and make sure I'm not giving a false interpretation of it. And if it's correct, then you must accept. That's called Veda. Just like you might be Hindu, I might be a Christian, another person might be a Buddhist. But every one of us has certain common things in common by virtue of being a human being. We're born, we get old, we get sick, and we die. It doesn't matter what your religion is, what your belief is, whether you're a good man or bad man. These four things are going to happen. So that is a common platform in which people can come together. Because if we can't come together on the basis of religion, because religion is whatever you believe. You might believe there's green people on the moon, and I might believe there's yellow people on the moon. Can we argue about it?
No.
Yeah, we can argue about it, but better is to just say, okay, well that's good, that's what you believe, and this is what I believe, and let's respect each other's belief. That's the end right there. Or else we're going to argue interminably, green, yellow, right?
Yeah.
You can't come together on the basis of religion. Religion is a type of belief. But you can come together on the basis of Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is the eternal quality of the living entity that cannot be changed.